board. Outside the window is a scarecrow, and on the board it tells you to take a picture of it. So it's made very clear that we need to get our camera back. In the process of retrieving your camera, the game teaches you the mechanics through action. And when you take a picture of the scarecrow, you'll very quickly find that the guest isn't happy and he's trying to break into the barn. But then he runs away, making you think that you have a clear exit, only for him to jump you again and realize that it was all just a dream, similar to the original, and that Quentin almost ended this game before it even started. But this was, as all tutorials should be, straightforward, short, and intuitive. Speaking of things that are intuitive, similar to Alpha 1 when we're introduced to the crowbar, a key item in this game, we can see whilst inside this basement that a crowbar is hanging off of a plank of wood, and the only way to get out is by using it on the same looking planks of wood nailed to the basement hatch. So again, we're introduced to a key item, and without being told, we already know what it's used for. When it comes to puzzles, we already know that things have improved since the original, but here, for example, if it's not in a cutscene, objectives are made clear through placement. Like in the museum where the neighbor's hiding. You've got this locked door, but right next to it, you can see a picture of the mayor holding the key to it. So it's made clear that to find this key, I need to find the mayor. And if you go to his house, you'll see straight away that the key is being held by a statue and guarded by a dog. What they've done is given you a clue, which is enough to figure out where to find the key, but the challenge itself comes through the process of getting it. Another example is when you unlock the museum door and straight away you see this drawing of the neighbor telling this kid to go to the attic. Even though they sometimes use cutscenes to tell you where to go, they didn't need to for this. And when you make it into this room upstairs, you can find a pole required to open the attic door, but you'll find out that you need to get 3 heads for these 3 headless statues to unlock it. It wasn't as easy to figure out as I made it seem there, but it made sense and I had an idea as to what I needed to do. So the marker is set, you just need to figure out how to get there. Later on, when you encounter other NPCs, the challenge comes through figuring out smaller puzzles while exploring each NPC's behavior, habits, and the environment. Like for example, the taxidermist. You can see from this painting that you need to find him, and when you get to his place, you'll very quickly find some instructions in his post box. These instructions basically show you how to make a fish head, but if you keep an eye on the taxidermist, you'll notice that he'll go to his workbench, make a wooden duck, take it outside, and use it for target practice. If you place these instructions on his workbench, he'll instead make the fish head, but you also need to be quick and grab it before he shoots it. Anyway, in this beta, there were a few things that were cut from the alpha that probably would have made the game a bit better, and also something that wasn't there that raised a bit of a red flag. Like the guest, for example, a key character in the marketing campaign who even has a plush and who we saw in the alphas. He was only seen twice, once in the tutorial and if you go off into the dark on the first level. He just appears out of nowhere to give you a little jump scare and then pushes you back on the right path. But then that's it, no more guest. Speaking of getting caught, when you actually get caught by an NPC, it's just a short cutscene with a fade to black and then you're back outside again. What happened to being dragged around with the chance to free yourself? Maybe it's just me, but that added a whole other level to the chase. Speaking of AI, this was just a spoiler-free playtest, so the full release was probably going to have a different layout anyway. But with all the talk of this neural network AI and needing people to test it, why wasn't it here? I mean, an argument can easily be made as to why, but come to think of it, there wasn't much evidence besides a few videos mentioning it that they were actually working on this. So of course, some people already raised their concerns. But with that being said, people didn't have to wait too long to test this AI, because on the 6th of December, the full game was released, along with the Deluxe Edition DLC, and my god, did it go wrong. There's quite a lot to go through here. I mean, for starters, you've got a lot of bugs and unpolished features, but then there are the big promises and the things that were alluded to which weren't in the game and still aren't months later. The first major thing is, of course, the much promised neural network AI. I know, it's a shock. It's almost like by focusing on it so much in this video, didn't give it away. This, of course, pissed people off because it wasn't just something that was said as a maybe or just some one-off thing that they alluded to. This was a pretty big selling point in the marketing campaign, to the point where even on pre-order day, people could see confirmation that the AI would in fact run on a neural network. Somewhere down the line, it must have been cut, but you'd think that they would mention this at some point, right? Well, no, they didn't. It looked like they had some secret operation to eliminate all mention of the neural network and do it progressively before release. As not long before release day, the description changed. Now, I can't find exactly when they first removed the mention of neural network AI on SteamDB, but it must have been sometime in November, as on the 6th, it was still mentioned. But here's where it gets worse. An active member from the Discord found that only 2 days before the pre-order early access, that the Steam description changed again, but this time they were caught in the act, showing a change from the neighbor is controlled by an AI that learns from the players. As time passes, his behavior will change and surprise you, to just the neighbor is controlled by advanced AIs. The same person who called this out also shared a picture of someone raising concerns in October as to if the neural network was scrapped or not, with the lead game designer at the time, Alexis, saying, "As I previously explained, any neural network is extremely dumb without proper training, and we can't train the AI on just a handful of play sessions from the devs. It's up for the community to make the AI learn from past mistakes." You could assume that from this one response that it would still be in the game, as well as the fact that in October, the Steam description still said that there would be neural network AI. While digging a little bit deeper, I noticed that the original game designer and creator of Hello Neighbor, Nikita Kolesnikov, who was also the brains behind the alphas of Hello Neighbor 2, was either demoted at some point or stepped down, with Alexis stepping in and making changes. It wasn't until the beta where people realized that quite a lot has changed. Anyway, this user was banned from the Discord for offensive behavior, and I couldn't find any more trace of this conversation. It also looks like Alexis stepped down at some point, and there is only mention of him on Discord, and the things that he reconfirmed with the fans. Either way, they promised this feature, got the pre-orders in, and on release day, it wasn't there. No announcement or anything like that. The next lie was with the open world sandbox, where you can do side quests and explore other places. In the beta, you could go around and do the quests in whatever order you want, with the ability to find any of the items you need in whatever order, but not with the full release, because in this, the town may be open to explore, but the story and progression is linear. For example, you could go to the bakery at the very beginning, but it's closed. You could go to the taxidermist, but there's an invisible wall stopping you. You could go to the mayor's mansion, but the gate is closed. And if you look inside the museum, even as of recording, you can see empty rooms with shadows where furniture is meant to be. To access other places, you need to complete each house in order. The only benefit of exploring other places is that you may find secrets and collectibles. So there's none of this main quest line surrounded by subquests, I guess. One other thing that was more so alluded to than promised was the presence of the guest. In the beta, he was reduced to a jump scare and cutscene. In this, he only appears in a cutscene at the beginning of the game. No creeping around at night, no tripping over, no grabbing, no nothing. It might not seem like a big deal, but as mentioned before, he was a big part of the story, and the fans were looking forward to seeing more of him. Even I was, and that's after playing Hello Neighbor 2 before the alphas. Maybe they have bigger plans for him later, but who knows? There was also the mention of a farmer and the possibility of other characters. I can understand why they only had 5, including the neighbor, because there's probably a lot that goes behind adding characters, but as a result, it felt lacking in content. Regarding content, the game wasn't even finished upon release, with them leaving everyone on a cliffhanger on the end with this message, saying that they've got big plans and that there will be future updates. If you follow my second channel, you'll know that I've played my fair share of indie horror games, and it's understandable for a solo or small dev team to release something in early access that's unfinished, with the promise that more will come. But from an already established studio with the help of others, it seems strange that they would release it as is without achieving whatever other milestones they had planned. This is made worse by the fact that the only additional content worth any value came from the day one DLC, which were basically broken, with one of them that you couldn't even complete. I mean, we'll see later that even today, there are a lot of issues with the DLC. But I also noticed that Steelwall Studios, the people behind Security Breach, were on release day included in the developer tags, but for whatever reason have been removed. It's not really clear as to what exactly happened, whether they asked to be removed or Tiny Build removed them because they did such a bad job. It's just really strange to see that you have the people who made stuff like this being removed from the tags on the DLC, when they're also apparently working on this game, a Hello Neighbor VR game. game. Now, there were a few other little things like a weather system and an amusement park that were mentioned or seen at some point, but were also not in the game. Anyway, regardless of all of the broken promises, the bugs, the lack of content, and the botched DLC, what's my take on the game? Is it really that bad, and has it improved since release? Well, I played this game back in February and recorded my experience on a spreadsheet. It's a mess, I know, but what I found at the time was a lack of attention to detail, some bugs here and there, and the game crashed when I beat it. But there's something I need to own up to. I kinda lost the footage. Like, I have no idea where the hell it's gone, and it's not the kind of thing I would intentionally delete. I even went full CIA just to try and recover any missing files, but no. Just like anyone else, I make stupid mistakes. Anyway, going through it a second time, let's take a look at the main elements in this game. As I've mentioned with the 2 alphas and beta, this game is a big step up from the original. It honestly feels like they've tried to make a decent cat and mouse puzzle game. Each location has a set objective and multiple mini puzzles to get key items. Most of the time you'll get a clue, or with a bit of exploration and messing around, you'll eventually figure things out. This time, everything seemed to link together. I mean, don't get me wrong, there were some weird puzzles and some objects that were so well hidden you wouldn't think that they were actually an item that you need. But at least compared to the original, everything makes a lot more sense. For example, these number blocks you'll find on the first level. At first, you'll have no idea what they're meant for, but then you'll find a room with a safe in it that requires a code. You'll also notice that next to it are some colored flags, and the number blocks are also colored. Put 2 and 2 together and you'll realize that if you find all 4 blocks, you can figure out the code to the safe and get one of the keys to unlock the basement. Another example is with the baker. In her bedroom, you'll eventually find this hour hand for a clock. When you look about, you'll notice that it's meant for this clock, and when you place it, nothing happens. At first, I had no idea what was going on, but then I realized that there are a few digital clocks placed around. I also noticed that the time